Check out this craziness from our lawmakers today. Actually, that was the scene in Turkey's parliament, but our own lawmakers weren't far off as Attorney General Pam Bondi testified on the DOJ's handling of the Epstein investigation.
I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer the
theatrics are
question
ridiculous.
the way I asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people.
I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
Lawyer, not even a lawyer.
Committee will be in order.
As Attorney General, you're siding with the perpetrators and you're ignoring the victims. You're running a massive Epstein cover-up right out of the Department of Justice.
This administration released over 3 million pages of documents, over 3 million, and Donald Trump signed that law. He is the most transparent president in the nation's history.
To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. Please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
I will continue to answer.
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her
I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
Within
40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed? There was one redaction out of over
listed as a co-conspirator.
And we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
All right. Well, Epstein investigations continue in the Oversight Committee, where Bill and Hillary Clinton are scheduled to appear in 2 weeks. And conditions for their cooperation are still in flux. For the latest, let's bring in Chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Kentucky Congressman James Comer. Thank you so much for being here, Chairman. We really appreciate it. So just before we get into the Clintons and the back and forth, I think Americans watching that hearing today found it pretty counterproductive to getting to the bottom of what the questions were and allegedly getting justice for the victims. What is the end goal of a hearing like that?
Look, hearings have just become unruly. That was the Judiciary Committee. Honestly, their behavior is probably better than what the Oversight Committee, my committee's behavior would be. That's just a different composition of members. That's one reason I think the Clintons want to go to a committee hearing, so people can complain, just like you and I are doing now, about how unproductive that hearing was. If you want to know the truth and if you want to get substance, then there's only one way to do that in a congressional investigation, and that's in a deposition. And that's why we're bringing the Clintons in for a deposition in lieu of a hearing. Now, I've told them they can have a public hearing if they sit down and answer our questions in the deposition, but you cannot compare a hearing to a deposition, and today was a perfect example of that.
So the Clintons have gone back and forth. They've defied the subpoenas that you've issued from the Oversight Committee. They originally said they weren't going to testify in a deposition. Now they're demanding it to be open. These negotiations are still in flux. Normal people don't get the opportunity to negotiate a congressional subpoena. Where are we with the Clintons' testimony, and will they be coming in for a deposition behind closed doors so that things can actually not be like the circus we just saw at the Judiciary Committee?
Well, again, the Clintons want the circus so they can avoid having to answer any substantive questions. The difference in a hearing and a deposition is a deposition, each side gets an hour. So the Republicans get an hour, then the Democrats get an hour, and staff members who are professional deposers can ask the questions. In a committee hearing, it's members of Congress for 5 minutes. And most of the time with the cameras on them, they're just speaking, and they're not even asking questions. They're just making statements. So committee hearings have become very unproductive when they're covered live on national television. Our depositions will be professional, just like every other court deposition in the world, and then we release the transcripts and the videos. We had the Maxwell deposition this week on Monday. By Monday evening, everyone in America saw the complete video and the transcripts. That's what we plan to do with the Clintons. So it's going to be public.
Again, though, I mean, What is the end goal here? The Department of Justice has released 3 million documents. There are allegedly 6 million total documents. They've allowed congressmen like you and others to go to DOJ this week to look at unredacted versions that don't include victims of names in some instances, or that have redacted people who were mentioned in the files but had nothing to do with the crimes that were committed by Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell or others who were in this child trafficking cabal. But what is the end goal here?
The end goal is to get justice for the victims and get the American people the truth. There are a lot of things that people are saying and people believe about the whole Epstein criminal behavior that may be true, and some of it may not be true. We're trying to get to the bottom of that. This has been a lot more painful than it should have. I think that a full disclosure of all these documents many months ago would have probably put this to bed. But it does appear that the federal government failed the victims of Epstein. From what we can gather, it doesn't feel like the government followed through with many of the people that they identified as co-conspirators. So we're trying to find out why the government failed these victims, and if there's still an opportunity to hold people accountable who committed these crimes.
Right. So then Oversight Committee and Judiciary would have to issue a recommendation back to DOJ for charges after an investigation of who is in these files. But I want to get your response to this, a different topic, the one that you're also looking into. One of your colleagues across the aisle, Congressman Ilhan Omar from Minnesota, accused President Trump of leading the, quote, pedophile protection party, and said, quote, at least in Somalia, they execute pedophiles, not elect them. So she's clearly calling for violence against President Trump for something that he did not do. What is your response to her saying that? And also, I know you're investigating her husband's business and how much money they've made recently.
Of all the people to make any comments, Ilhan Omar is the one person in Congress who probably needs to keep her mouth shut. If she's going to tweet anything, she needs to explain to the American people how her net worth went from $0 to $10 million in 1 year, and explain why the Biden Department of Justice was investigating her husband's financial activities over the course of that year where her net worth ballooned up. This is a simple question. It shouldn't take long to answer. Reporters are trying to ask her the questions, and she just walks by and won't answer questions. But she finds enough time to tweet something absurd like that and compare her beloved Somalia to the United States like it's a superior country. If she likes Somalia so much, she should go back to Somalia. And I can tell you, with what we're investigating in Minnesota and the depositions and transcribed interviews that we're getting right now as we speak with the whistleblowers in the Minnesota state employees union that have been dealing with these social programs, it's really bad, the amount of Somali fraud in all the different welfare programs. So Ilhan Omar really needs to keep her mouth shut.
I find it quite interesting that she would make that comment while also advocating for ICE officers to leave Minnesota when they're literally trying to get pedophiles off of the streets. Congressman James Comer, thank you so much for your time tonight, and we'll be watching what you get in that investigation and also with the Epstein files. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.